first friend I ever had was this wonderful girl named Sweetie. A couple years before I was born, my dad found her while he was on a business trip wandering around pregnant. Sweetie was a dog, and she was the first dog I ever loved. She was really great, and she was just always there for me, like a dog is always there for you. And since my dad found her before I was born, obviously she was there my entire life. So when Sweetie got too old, it was no secret she was going to die. We knew the weeks leading up to her death, we knew that she wasn't going to make it. And I mean, being in like the 3rd grade, I didn't really know what that meant. Like I knew what death was, people in my family had died, but people that I didn't really know, like 3rd grade aunts. So it was kind of a weird thing. And so she stopped eating because that's what dying things do, I guess. And I remember the last thing she ever ate was this drop of ice cream, and I took out the ice cream carton to her, and I gave it to her, and she just licked up this little drop of ice cream. I was so excited, and I was like, oh, she's gonna get better, like, this is such a good thing, this is so great, because I just loved her, and I wanted her to get better, and my mom said, you know, Sweetie, she only ate that to make you happy. And that was like, my heart just kind of broke there, because no, she's not getting better, she's just willing to suffer for me. And then at the same time, I was like, she's willing to suffer for me. Who is willing to suffer for me? Like, what a great friend to do that. Like, on her deathbed, her theoretical dog deathbed, to eat some ice cream just to make me happy, just to make me smile, to give me some hope. So like I said before, it was no secret she was going to die, and we were all supposed to come home immediately after school, and I went to school the day that she died, not knowing it was going to be the day she died. And I stayed after for Girl Scouts because it was a Tuesday, and that's what you did on Tuesdays, was you stayed after school for Girl Scouts, even though I was supposed to come straight home. And I forgot about her. And my parents came to pick me up early from Girl Scouts, and I was so excited because you know when you're a kid and your parents come to pick you up, like, yeah, no school, no Girl Scouts, parents. And so I was really excited, and I go to get my backpack, and I threw it over my shoulder, and then I realized what I had done. I realized that I had missed the last seconds of my best friend's life, and there were seconds I was never going to get back. And so I go home, and there's my best friend lying on a little plastic picnic table we had in the backyard, and I just sat there for half an hour petting her, saying goodbye, and apologizing for forgetting her, and telling her I would never forget her again. And I was just so sorry, and my dad, he went and got this sheet, and it had a bunch of little animals on it, and he'd had it since college, and it was so perfect and symbolic, and he was all sweaty from digging a hole in the backyard, and he wrapped her in that sheet. And we buried her in the backyard, and that spot where the grass never really grew anyways, and we said our prayers, and for the first and only time in my life, I saw my dad cry, and I was broken. I'd never been this close to death. I'd never seen my dad cry, and it was so hard. And I went to school the next day, and I only cried once. I was so proud of myself. I only cried once. And when I did cry, my teacher, Miss King, she came up and she pat my back and she's like, "It's okay, sweetie." And this other boy came up and he's like, "You poor thing." And I got mad because I didn't like him anyways, and I didn't want his pity. All I wanted was my dog back. And I was just... And so I yelled at him, and then I went home, and I was so proud of myself. I only cried once. The first day in my life, I thought my best friend, I was going to go home, and she wasn't going to be there. I only cried once, and so I went up to my older sister, Haley, and I said, "Haley, I only cried once today," and I was so proud of myself. And she was practically disgusted. She couldn't believe that I would cry at school. What a horrific thing to do the first day I didn't have my best friend in my life. And she just didn't understand, and nobody understood, except maybe our other dog, Goldie, who is this golden retriever, is kind of aggressive, and so she's never really nice, but that one moment in my life that she shared with me, she understood, and that was the closest I ever felt to her. She started losing all of her hair after Sweetie died, because she was a puppy. Like, we got Goldie as a puppy when we had Sweetie, so Sweetie practically raised her, and so she lost all of her hair and got really depressed, and she became an inside dog, and so naturally we started to spoil her. And we kind of liked her better, but Goldie was my oldest sister Jerry's dog, so Jerry was the only one that was crazy about Goldie, because Goldie was just really aggressive, so me and my other sister didn't really like her, and My parents didn't like her very much because she had a tendency to attack other dogs, and that got really expensive. So when Goldie died, it was really more tragic than it was sad. The only one that cried was Jerry, and we buried her in that same spot in the backyard next to Sweetie where the grass never grew anyways. And we were dogless for a few years. A dogless Mills family. I know, for those of you that have been to my house. Hard to imagine. So I begged and begged my parents. I wanted another dog, and they said no. And my mom said, as soon as we start looking, we're going to find one. So no, we're just not yet. We're not ready yet. And then one day I made them this collage because, you know, I was cool and in middle school and PowerPoint. I knew how to use it. So I made this collage with a bunch of different kinds of dogs on it, and I sent it to them. And I said, if you give me a dog, I will love you forever. And they hold me to that. They say it all the time. You got Travis, you gotta love us forever. And they just kind of look at him. So my parents, after receiving that email, they decided they were gonna get us a dog. And so they went to the animal shelter and they looked. First, I looked at the webpage of the animal shelter, and the animal of the week was this golden retriever named Travis. And my mom was right, as mothers tend to be. As soon as they started looking, they found the perfect dog, which was Travis. And so they go to visit him, and he's the only dog at the kennel that's not barking. He's just sitting there looking. And so, of course, my dad liked him because he's not yappy, because that's just annoying in a dog. And so they bring me and my sister Haley back the next week to check him out. And so I didn't really know where we were. I didn't realize what was happening until my dad goes up to the counter and says, we're here to visit and possibly adopt Travis. And it was kind of just like, yeah. I'm so excited. Like, finally, we're getting a new dog. And then I see this beautiful little 9-month-old golden retriever prancing down the hallway. And I look at my dad and I say, oh, Daddy, he's perfect. And so they put us in this little weird room, I guess, where you visit the dogs. And my dad went and bought Travis. And so then we had Travis, and we went home. And I guess my oldest sister Jerry wasn't in on this plan, so we were all going to surprise her when she got home. So when she got home from soccer practice that night, we were all waiting by the door. And she came in, and Travis was sitting there, and she said, what's that? Jerry, it's our new dog! It's like, I'm so excited. I couldn't, why wasn't she excited? I was ecstatic. We have a new dog. Look at him. He's so pretty and perfect. And she just oh. And just walked away. She was so unimpressed. It was a dog. Who cared? And my mom said, don't worry, Casey. He just looks a little too much like Goldie, and someday she'll learn to love him too.